Welcome to Tea with Tanya. I'm your host, Tanya Ambrose, an average millennial navigating life as a maternal health professional, nonprofit founder, and grad student. Join me in the tea tasting room where we spill the tea on finding balance and promoting positive living while doing it all. Hey friend, welcome back to another episode of Tea with Tanya, where we talk all things transforming every aspect of our lives. I am so glad that you could join me here in the tea tasting room this week for another episode. And we're going to be diving into a topic that's somewhat close to my heart, something I've been thinking about and reflecting on these last several months. But before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to my sister over in the UK, my UK sister, Tisha. Let me tell you, Tisha and I have been friends, we met each other on social media between the last 6 to 8 years, and we were never met in person up until January of this year when I had an overnight stay in London on my way back from Dubai to the US. And we finally was able to meet in person, and it was just an amazing time to get to see her in person and just seeing her beautiful face up close. But she sent me some tea from Fortnum and Mason. And let me tell you, I am so excited for us to be experimenting these different teas in the tea tasting room come this fall. So when you see your girl over here stunting in the tea tasting room with her different teas from Fortnum and Mason, don't even say anything. You're going to indulge in the same thing as me. So I definitely had to give a shout out for Tisha, and I'm looking forward to trying these different teas on the podcast here in the fall as well. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what is purpose to me, because I think purpose is such a powerful concept, and it can truly shape our lives in ways we may not even realize. So my friend, grab your favorite cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's get started, okay? Now, so what exactly is purpose? And I do want to read some responses from some of my friends and some of my listeners when I asked this question before I get into what purpose is for me. And one response that I got was, purpose to me is the fulfillment of something. That was one response. The other one said, a reason for something. I had another response that said, basically, purpose to them is equivalent to their why. And then when asked what their why was, basically, personally, their life is to give the best version of themselves to their loved one, and professionally it would be to be that guiding light in individual's life, because they have the ability to empower others as well as show people what their true strengths are and how to build on that instead of harping on what happened in the past as well. Another response someone said was, they don't even know without saying the word. So again, there's different responses to what purpose is. I had another response who said that purpose to them, what are their desires, who you are and who you want to be, what do you offer to others, and how do you receive what is offered to you as well. So purpose is being of intent, not just existing, but living to your intentions. And I like that answer as well. Then I had another response that was saying their purpose is just to live. And I think that was one of my favorite answers as well, just to live. But also, again, you don't have to have your purpose all figured out. So shout out to you guys for sending that feedback and giving me that response as well. So what exactly is purpose? For me, purpose is the driving force behind everything that I do. It's the reason I wake up in the morning, and it's the motivation that keeps me going even when things get tough, when life is challenging, when everything seems to be against me. It's what really keeps me motivated and what pushes me to be the best version of myself. But also, purpose is not what we do, but why we do it. It's also about finding that deeper meaning and connection to our actions. And I think for me, and I'll share a quick story about how I got into my purpose or knew what it was. I remember a few years ago, and if you've been an active listener on the podcast, you know that I was in nursing school and I failed out by 0.5 points, because I'm going to always put that 0.05 points in my story, because it is my story and that's how personal I took it. But I remember might have been 2015 when I failed out of my nursing program, and I'm like, wow, I remember taking that exam. When I said I studied like hell. I was taking my ginkgo biloba. I was doing everything to ensure that my health and my brain health was was good. And I remember taking that exam because, mind you, I failed a second exam that they essentially warned every nursing student about in that med-surg class. And if you've gone to college, that if you fail one class, it's going to take you, if you fail one exam, it's going to take you 15 million exams to pull your grade back up to a grade that is up to your satisfaction, right? And I remember failing out of that program. And I was like, okay, I was waiting that day for our results, and we were in the lobby of the dorm, and the results came in on Blackboard, and I saw the score, and I was like, wow, I just knew that was it. I wasn't going to even try to fight the professors by asking them to round up. I just knew obviously what the rule was at the school. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I remember the first two people that I called would have been my big sister who lives in Canada, and one of my very, very close, my best friend as well. And just letting them know what happened. Because I was too stunned to speak, okay? I like to talk, and I was too stunned to speak. The emotional person that I am, I couldn't even foster up any sort of tears. I was just shocked, dumbfounded. I just could not. I was numb. And I remember thinking, wow, I'm going to be so depressed. What do I do now? Like, I moved from New Jersey to come all the way down here to Virginia to go to nursing school. What's my next plan? And through the support of my friends and family, I started applying to different schools as well and explaining the story and everything. Got to a school when I moved to Georgia. Mind you, I would have called a school before even applying, explain the situation, because I know some nursing programs, they have a rule that if you fail out of a program, you have to wait a year or 2 years before you can even apply. I got to this school, did the orientation, registered for classes, did everything you can think of as a new student. And about midway through the semester, while I'm bursting my brain trying to ensure that I'm getting all these grades in, my academic advisor called me and told me that to come see her in the office. XYZ did that. And she basically said they did an audit on my transcript, and they just realizing, which didn't even make any sense, but they just realizing that I failed out of the nursing program. And they have a philosophy where if you're not successful in one nursing program, then they have the belief that you won't be able to be successful in their program because it's very rigorous, XYZ. That's pretty much the essence of how that conversation went. And I'm sitting there again, dumbfounded, don't know what to think or feel, just thinking in my brain again, what's going to be the next solution? Because it's like every time I'm trying to get to this nursing degree, it's always something. And I remember switching to the respiratory therapy program. No, granted, all in my brain, all this time I wanted to be a nurse because I wanted to help people. I wanted to be a source of comfort for families. This is why it was one of my driving force behind becoming a nurse. And if I can be honest as well, too, having a steady and stable job, because, nurses are going to always be in demand. But the core of why I wanted to become a nurse was just to help people and give back to my community. And I was shattered. And I did everything I can do for the next semester as far as the process of applying to the respiratory therapy program, taking the exam. I passed the exam. I think it was like either the second highest score or whatever the case may be. Got into the program. But my friend, something in the bottom of my heart kept telling me, Tanya, are you sure you want to do this? And this is nothing to do, or I'm not even against respiratory therapists because they're very, very important when you come in the healthcare system. Like they play a crucial role as well as nurses, and I'm just like, that's not what you want to do. You want to be a nurse. Because ultimately the plan was get your degree in respiratory therapy. And once you have that now, there's no way that they can deny you into nursing school or whatever. That was how I was thinking at that time at 24, 25 years old, and I decided I was going to take a year off because why am I taking all these classes? Why am I racking up student loans or putting my parents in expense, whatever the case may be? Why am I doing all this when that was not what I wanted to do in life per se? And I remember taking a full year off, and I was just working as a CNA. And I'm like, okay, what are you going to do with your life, Tanya? Because you're 26 now, about to be 27. Something has got to give. And my aunt told me about the field of public health. So me being me, I did my research and applied to the Georgia State University, got accepted, and went to do my public health degree. Now you're probably wondering, girl, what does this have to do with anything? But I wanted to see how many times I've had to pivot, evolve, or get up, knock down, got myself up again, and do what I had to do. And I just remember that I had my first ever class at Georgia State University was Intro to Public Health, and that was on a Saturday in the morning. Don't ask me why, my friend. I am a morning person, so the morning part is no problem. But why was I taking a class on Saturday? I don't know. That was when the class, they had availability, and I had to do what I had to do, okay? So the first class I went to was Intro to Public Health, and that was taught by Dr. Jacques Cormier. And I'm giving him that shout out because he's still a constant in my life as a mentor. And I remember just liking his vibe, just getting to know. He was a younger professor, but also could relate to the students and really wanted us to do well as well. And I remember when I was approaching my last year, my final year in my undergrad program at Georgia State University with public health, I did that study abroad stint to Uganda. And I often tell people that I think the idea of me wanting to give back to people in my community, to be of service, was always in me from being a girl, guys, coming right up and seeing my mom helping other people. And I thought I had to be a millionaire to do that. But I often tell people that my nonprofit Scrub Life Cares was birthed. It was born in Uganda because that's where the ideas that I always had, everything just came to fruition. And I felt like I gave birth to the nonprofit in Scrub Life Cares in Uganda, and then came back to the US and Antigua and just took off 10 toes down, me running, ensuring that I was able to fulfill my mission or live up to my purpose. But nevertheless, I came up from that study abroad stint and approaching the final year of undergrad, because we all know what happened in 2020. So I didn't get to walk across the stage how I wanted to, my graduation, to hear my name, but whatever. But I remember going to Dr. Cormier and I said to him, get ready to graduate, and I need to know, what am I going to do with this public health degree? What can I do to be of service to the community? Because again, he was instrumental in me gaining some skills in public health, because I've worked alongside him and some other students on various different teams with members of the community. And that's where, again, I started developing, okay, this is what I want to do in life, because it comes naturally. It brings me joy, these different things. And he pulled out, I was in his office, and he pulled out a blank orange piece of paper. Why was the paper orange? I don't know, because usually you see those white printing paper, right? And he pulled out an orange piece of paper. And on that paper, I'm sitting across from him behind his table. And on that paper and I'm talking to you, my friend, and I'm looking at this paper, because mind you, this happened in 2019 and we're in 2024 now, and I still have this paper. And he wrote on the paper, Tanya Life. And on the paper, it's divided into different sections, because one of the big things for me was, am I too old? So one thing on here, he has, okay, think, what are your interests? Then I have, on this paper, I have housing issues, food, providing basic needs, thinking about the EDP. What do you want to be known for? Again, something about link to care, to develop policies, inform. And then he has too old with a question mark, because I kept talking about, I'm too old. Because at the time in 2019, how old was I? I'm 29 now, Then I said, what can I do my master's in? I said, first keep telling me to get into epidemiology. He has it on this paper. Then I said, I still want to go back to nursing because, I have a CNA background. And then I'm like, at the same time, I'm sick of nursing now. I want to be able to bring about change by way of being on the front line outside of being in a clinical setting. He has it on this paper. Then he has check out government agencies, nonprofit organization, programs. What are you going to do with your MPH-MS certificates? He's telling me about Google Scholar Search. All this is on this paper, written very neatly too. And he has what services or skills base you want to provide to a post, I think I'm going to say apocalyptic world. I don't know, but he has a post-APOC world. I think that's what it meant. He said, what do you want to be known for? Again, and everything on this paper kept coming back to giving to the community, because at the end, he has community at the bottom of this paper. And I felt liberated in the meeting, but I'm like, okay, he somewhat gave me the push as well to go ahead and start the nonprofit. And I think when I came out of his office after that meeting, my friend, I would have called my best friend and we were just talking, and I was sharing, some of what happened. And literally while I'm talking to him, walking in the lobby, heading to my car, the name Scrub Life Cares came about, because again, simply while I was talking to my best friend, because I had a blog called All About the Scrub Life. I was a CNA, so I was a Scrub Life. I was a scrub wearing young girl. So that's just the birth behind, or the name of my nonprofit. And I know you're wondering, girl, what does that have to do with your purpose? But I say all that to say, because for me, when I look at this orange paper, because I take it out ever so often, when I look at it, and I had someone else who I spoke to, who basically in that conversation, and I still have those cue cards in the same book that I keep this orange paper in, where he basically said that your life's purpose essentially was community. Because everything when we had that conversation, as she was saying certain things to me, community kept coming back, giving back, being of service, choosing yourself, putting yourself first before others. All these things I have on that also on that cue cards too. And for me, it was about helping others, making a difference in my community, and using my skills in public health to create positive change. And that realization was a turning point for me, my friend. It really was. Because when you think about it, Our purpose is not to pay bills and die in life or just to survive. Listen, you can have a purpose of helping humanity, but you also got to be specific. You got to get specific. Like, what exactly and in what way are you going to help the community? You could be someone who, I want to raise money for this charity. Again, you can change what you do year after year and still be focused on what that purpose is. Because look at me, I went from nursing to respiratory therapy to being a senior, taking a year off, to getting my degree in public health, to now being in grad school, getting my master's in public health as well, working towards a health services policy management concentration as well as maternal and child health. So again, for me, I truly, genuinely feel that my purpose is to help and teach people in need, even the ones who think they don't need it. So for me, luckily, I am blessed to know what my purpose is. But to be honest with you, my friend, I didn't always know. And I'm not talking to you and expecting you to always know also what your purpose is going to be. But I want you to know that our purpose is not to just be in this planet to pay bills and just die. No. And you don't have to know what you're going to do every day in this world. And I think sometimes society places some sort of pressure on us, or we put that pressure or that burden on ourselves to figure out what we want to do. You're not going to know what you want to do every day in this world. And it doesn't have to be your purpose forever. You want to think about your overarching purpose. But you don't need to do the same thing every year, day in, day out. So my advice to you is to find what you're passionate about and think about what do you want to focus on this year or the next 1 to 3 years. Like, what can you genuinely dedicate 1 to 3 years on that will go to your overarching purpose? Because I know for me, my purpose is to serve my community, especially from a public health standpoint. I have a vision where I want my nonprofit organization to be global, on a global scale. So what can I do now that's going to work towards my overarching goal? Right now, for me, I've had to admit that as a founder, as a CEO of a small startup nonprofit organization, there are things that I don't know. It doesn't matter how many classes I've taken in nonprofit, certificates that I may have. There's just something that are not my strong suit. And one of that thing is grant writing. And I have to be honest with you, my friend. And I took it upon myself recently to reach out to people in the community to help me, because I'm like, I can't fulfill a mission or my purpose without getting the help that I need as well. And I had a conversation recently with a grant writer, and I had to make the decision to seek that help, get that coaching so that I can take my nonprofit, I can gain new skills, one, but also take my nonprofit to the next level. So for me right now, one of the things that I can work on from a professional standpoint is to gain more grant writing skills, network more with other nonprofit founders within the next quarter of this year into next year, so that I can work towards my overarching purpose, which is to serve my community as well. Because when you think about it, you don't have to have a purpose for your whole life, but you do have to have a purpose for now. Because for me, this is where depression comes in, and even the anxiety can even creep into your life, aka me. Because you're like, I don't know what the purpose of my life is. I don't have a purpose. And that can be depression, to be honest. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be clinically depression or anything like that, but it can lead to depression or anxiety because you're thinking, what is my purpose in life? I don't have a purpose. I don't have it all figured out. And no, if there's no purpose, you might be thinking, why continue to live? And to be honest, that's an unhealthy way to think. And it's not a good path that you would want to travel down. Take it from me. You definitely don't want to do that. So you want to often think positive about where you want to be in life. Because when I think about the role of purpose in my daily life, for me, it's like living with a sense of purpose, to be honest, transform my life in so many ways. Because the Tanya that's talking to you now and the Tanya from 5-6 years ago is not the same Tanya. This is a Tanya that has grown. For me, getting a clear sense of what my purpose is definitely made my decisions clearer and my actions more intentional. I spoke to you in the podcast earlier in the year when I said my word for this year was intentional, because I wanted to be intentional with every single thing that I do. So when you know your why, it becomes easier to say no to things that don't align with your purpose and to focus on what truly matters. And I found that, honestly, and I'm confident in saying this, that I found that having a purpose brings a sense of fulfillment and joy that's hard to find anywhere else. For me, I've sought validation from people who, like, what, girl, what are you thinking? But I found that having a purpose, it really does bring a sense of fulfillment and joy that is hard for me to find anywhere else, to be honest. Sometimes if there's no purpose, you think, what's my life? You know, we all have a purpose. You just got to define what your purpose is and then get specific. So I'll encourage you, you want to get a pen and paper and figure out what are you passionate about and see what is the overarching theme of your life. And then you can take the necessary steps towards that to make it better. So you don't have to change your whole world, but you can change the people around you and you can change yourself as well. And that's what I did, There are so many different steps you can take to discover your purpose. Because let me tell you, I know that discovering your purpose is not always easy. It was not easy for me. But when I think back, I can often see that the overarching theme of my purpose was community, was to give back, was to teach, was to be of service. And that's going to be different for you. It's not how I found my purpose, my path to my purpose. It's not going to be how you find it. But there are some steps that you might take along the way that could help you find your purpose. So you want to reflect on your passions and your interests, my friend. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most alive and fulfilled. Consider how you can use your unique talents and skills to contribute to something greater than yourself. On that orange paper that my professor wrote on, he said, what services and skill base do you want to provide to the world, essentially? So think about how your talent and skills can contribute to something that's greater than yourself. And to be honest, don't be afraid to try new things and step out of your comfort zone. When I tell you that I have to have an honest conversation with the young lady who I spoke to, and maybe I'll have on the podcast one day, when it comes to wanting to develop that skill of grant writing with my nonprofit, because that's what I'm locked in on right now. And I had to be transparent and honest. And while I was nervous at first, it felt so freeing to know that, I stepped out of my comfort zone to be vulnerable with someone so that I can get the necessary skills to take my nonprofit to the next step. So don't be afraid to try new things. So remember that finding your purpose is a journey and not a destination. I'm going to say it again. Finding your purpose is a journey, not a destination. So you want to think about sitting down, getting a pen and paper and thinking about what can I do to change myself and the people around me. Because if you have a purpose, it's going to make it very easy for you to wake up in the morning because you want to get to that. You want to do the necessary steps. You want to work towards fulfilling, having that joy. Think about it. When was the last time you sat down and actually journal? And I'm not saying the journal to be cute. When you journal, it needs to be intentional. It's not like a diary that you're going to be hiding, dear diary, XYZ. No, you're going to be intentional about what you want. And don't make journaling hard because, I'm an advocate when it comes to journaling, writing. I bought myself a new notebook that's my manifestation journal. The questions, think about the answers the questions you want to ask yourself. What is my purpose? What do you want to do? Think about it. The profession that you're in right now doesn't have to be what you do in 3 years' time. Because I don't want you to misunderstand that because you have a purpose mean that you must stay in a particular profession that you're in. Look at me. I thought I was going to be the Christina Yang of nursing. I was going to be a nurse practitioner and I was going to be the best NP you could ever find in the world. I was going to be the Christina Yang and Meredith Grey of nurse practitioners. You know what I mean? And where I am now, making my way in public health, having different connections, fulfilling my life purpose that I think is for me by way of public health and not necessarily in a clinical setting. You know what I mean? So the profession that you're in right now doesn't have to be what you're doing in 3 years' time or the rest of your life. If you're working for someone, it doesn't have to be that for the rest of your life either. You can get a new job. You can create a new job. There's so many things you can do. If you're struggling, start to think about what you want to be in life. Think about what you want to be. You want to have that journal. Why am I here? What do I love? What do I want to do? What impact do I want to have on the world? Figure out what your purpose is, because you're not just here. I'm telling you, when I for they just live on a pen on bill. You understand what I'm saying? We're here to live and find joy and fulfillment in our lives, because there's so many different misconceptions when it comes to finding your purpose. And that sometimes can really trip us up. One of them is the idea that your purpose has to be grand or world-changing. It doesn't have to be, friend. It does not. That is not necessarily true. Your purpose can be something simple and personal as long as it's meaningful for you, honestly. So even though you're listening to me talk and I have a podcast talking to you, I have a nonprofit and you can probably see me giving back to my community. That's what's fulfilling to me. There are other small personal things that I'm not probably sharing with you that are also meaningful to me and that can contribute to my purpose as well. So I don't want you to think that your purpose has to be grand or world changing. No, it can be simple and personal, just as long as it's meaningful to you. Another misconception that I had is that once you find your purpose, everything will be easy. Child, please. I wish it was. If it was, I'd be the happiest person on the planet. But in reality, living with your purpose or living with purpose involves a lot of hard work and perseverance, but it's worth it. And one of my mottos or my mantras in my life is perseverance is key. I have that stick everywhere that you can think of. It's in my book. Perseverance is key, because at the end of the day, nothing is going to come easy. Think about scoring some sort of victory for yourself or even humanity as well, you know? So yeah, to recap, I want you to remember that purpose is about finding that deeper meaning in your actions and connecting to your why. So what is our why? That is what purpose should be. Finding that deeper meaning in our actions and connecting to our why. My journey to discovering my purpose has taught me so much. Like the person that's talking to you today, every now and then, I don't often give myself props, but I'm so proud of where I am in my life. And I still have a lot of work to do, my friend. But discovering my purpose has taught me a lot. And I hope that sharing it with you has been helpful. Because remember, if you don't remember anything else, my friend, remember, finding your purpose is a personal journey. And it's okay to take your time with it. I was someone that was caught up with, I'm getting old and my age. No. Finding your purpose is a personal journey, and it's okay to take your time with it. And I want to leave you with this thought. Your purpose doesn't have to be something monumental. Again, your purpose doesn't have to be something monumental. It just has to be meaningful to you. So take the time to explore, reflect, and don't be afraid to follow your heart. And I read that out of my journal as I'm talking to you, because this whole message, this last sentence that I just said, this statement, it's what I wrote in the beginning of my new manifestation journal that I bought and dubbed that it was going to be the manifestation journal. It's definitely that, your purpose doesn't have to be something monumental. It just has to be meaningful to you. So take the time to explore, reflect, and don't be afraid to follow your heart. That's all I got for you, my friend. But I want to hear your thoughts on today's episode. Like, what does purpose mean to you? Feel free, honestly, to share your experiences with me on social media. You can send me an email. Look in the show notes. You'll see my email. You'll see the Tea with Tanya podcast, Instagram and Facebook page. Let me know, what does purpose mean to you? Because we all have a purpose in life. But again, the important thing is that it's meaningful to you, and my purpose is meaningful to me. So definitely let me know. Let's get this conversation going. I may end up going to Instagram Live when this episode drops, but definitely share with me what purpose means to you. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you back here in the tea tasting room next week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Tea with Tanya. If you like this episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Don't forget to follow on Instagram at Tea with Tanya Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the weekly Tea Talk newsletter. And of course, rate on Apple or Spotify and subscribe wherever you listen. See you next time. I love you for listening.